Hello, and welcome to another episode of Learn English with Stories. I'm your host, David, and today we're going to explore a profound story called The Big Rocks of Life. This story serves as a powerful reminder about priorities, time management, and the importance of focusing on what truly matters. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive into this inspiring tale. Once upon a time, an old professor of philosophy stood before his students in the classroom. On the desk in front of him was an empty glass jar. Without saying a word, he picked up several large rocks and carefully placed them into the jar, filling it to the top. Then he turned to his students and asked, "Is the jar full?" The students nodded in agreement. "Yes, it's full," they said. The professor smiled, then reached under the table and pulled out a container of small pebbles. He poured them into the jar, shaking it gently so that the pebbles filled the spaces between the big rocks. Once again, he asked, "Is the jar full now?" The students hesitated, but eventually nodded. "Yes, it's full." The professor chuckled and reached for a bag of sand. He carefully poured the sand into the jar, filling the remaining tiny gaps between the pebbles and rocks. "How about now?" he asked. By this time, the students were laughing and said, "Now it's full." But the professor wasn't finished yet. He pulled out a cup of water and slowly poured it into the jar. The water seeped into the remaining spaces, finally filling the jar completely. The students clapped and laughed, amazed at how much the jar could still hold. The professor then looked at his students and said, "This jar represents your life." The big rocks symbolize the most important things: your family, your health, your dreams, your values. If you put these in your life first, the smaller things like pebbles, sand, and water will fit around them. But if you fill the jar with sand or water first, there won't be any room left for the big rocks. The class fell silent, pondering the deep meaning behind the demonstration. "Remember," the professor continued, "the big rocks are what truly matter. Prioritize them, and the rest will follow. If you waste time on the little things, you'll run out of space for the things that give your life meaning." One student raised his hand and asked, "Professor, what about the water?" The professor smiled. "That, my friend, represents the small pleasures in life. No matter how full your life seems, there's always room for a little joy and fun." Curious and inspired, the students started discussing their own big rocks. Some mentioned family, others spoke about their passions, and a few talked about their health and well-being. The professor encouraged them to reflect deeply on their priorities and consider how they were currently allocating their time. The next day, one of the students, named Emily, decided to take the lesson to heart. She went home and created her own jar of life, placing symbolic items inside to represent her biggest priorities. She put in a small photo of her family, a journal representing her dreams, and a fitness band symbolizing her health. Looking at the jar, she realized how much she had been focusing on the sand, things like social media and trivial worries. Meanwhile, another student, Alex, decided to apply the lesson to his studies. He created a schedule that prioritized his most important goals, his career aspirations, personal growth, and relationships. Slowly, he started noticing a change in his productivity and sense of fulfillment. As weeks passed, more and more students took inspiration from the professor's lesson, and their lives began to transform. Some started pursuing forgotten hobbies, others reconnected with loved ones, and many found a renewed sense of purpose in their daily routines. One day, Emily returned to the professor to thank him personally. "Professor, your lesson changed my life. I was so focused on minor things that I forgot about what truly matters. Now, I feel more in control and happier than ever." The professor smiled warmly and said, "I'm glad to hear that, Emily. Remember, life is about choices. If you fill your time with unimportant things, you'll miss out on the treasures that truly enrich your soul. Keep focusing on your big rocks." Over time, the story of the big rocks of life spread beyond the classroom. Parents shared it with their children, businesses adopted it for better time management, and communities used it to inspire collective growth and unity. It became a universal reminder that the key to a meaningful life is focusing on what truly matters. The story of the big rocks of life teaches us an invaluable lesson. Prioritize the things that truly matter first, and everything else will find its place. Our lives are filled with countless distractions, responsibilities, and commitments, but focusing on what is most important, our health, relationships, and personal growth, will ensure a fulfilling and balanced life. So, ask yourself today, what are your big rocks? Are you giving them the attention they deserve? Or are you filling your life with sand and water first? If you enjoyed this story and found it valuable, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might need this reminder. Let's learn together and continue improving our lives, one story at a time. Thank you for joining me, David, today. Until next time, take care and focus on your big rocks.